I am here with Stephen Abram at the Texas Library Association in San Antonio, Texas, sitting alongside the River Rock. Stephen, can you tell us what's the value that you add?
Well, I like to think I add value. My clients tell me that I'm not bad at strategy formulation and priorities and setting priorities for libraries. I'm not bad at helping organizations build structures for their staff to take greater risks, innovate more, and work on pilots and experiments to make a difference in whatever matters to them, whether it's improving student, improving community engagement, whatever. I've been lucky that I've worked on all facets of the industry, our associations, our training companies, the vendor world, and I've run libraries. And I've been involved in every segment of libraries, academic, college, public, school, and even the LIS schools. So my perspective has been informed by a number of my experiences, but having worked in consulting firms and for myself for quite a while, I've got a few techniques that help focus effort so that we can be more successful in the short term and the long term.
Absolutely. So from that varied perspective, what do you think libraries should be thinking about or getting excited about now as we're a quarter of the way through 2014?
I think that's an interesting question, because what I'm hearing people doing is saying 5-year plans don't work, we're going to stick with 3 years. And I think you need a 10-year context to write a 3-year plan. And when you do just a 3-year plan, you deal with creeping incrementalism, where you never really change anything fast enough. And you have puny visions. Whereas if you have a 10-year context and say, what's the world going to look like 10 years from now? So what is hybrid and e-learning and MOOCs going to look like? MOOCs are less than 2 years old. They're in their toddler phase. What's it really going to look like, and what's the place of libraries in that framework? 3D printing and 3D object databases. What's the information content, and what are the metadata visual skills one needs to extract the information content from a 3D object? If you're in rare books, like we're seeing them experiment with MRIing books that can no longer be opened because they'll turn to powder, and slicing it and getting all the content from every page by using the MRI.
Interesting.
And so you sit there and say, like, there's some big picture stuff that's about to happen, and embeddables and Google Glass, and we've pretty well nailed handling text, and we're starting to get really good at discovery versus search. But we aren't integrating it well enough into the user pathways where they are. So things like mobile are about being present at the individual level when every single user is by definition a distance user. So our model in our head is upending itself.
Absolutely.
And sometimes that recognition of the upending it, as we take a 10-year context, what does it mean when your mobile phone that we see as an integrated device now with phone and video and everything in it, what does it mean when that explodes? Like when I grew up, the television, the radio, and the record player was all in one cabinet, and then it was exploded into many cabinets, and now it's concatenated down to the phone again. I believe it'll explode again with embeddables and clothing.
So having mentioned embeddables, where do you think they are at in the growth? They're not even really, they're not at the first year even.
No, but well, they are a bit. You got to find out where it is with disability movement and with medical stuff. So when we start to see people getting prosthetic arms that are controlled by our brain with wires into our nervous system, that's just the beginning of it. When you see the experimental phones where you have the keyboard tattooed on your arm, we're starting to see some really interesting stuff that leaders, early adopters, innovators are trying. But there's a certain point where it's going to go mainstream. And it's not going to go mainstream for everyone the same way everyone's not on the internet now. But it's going to be a factor in things. So when you look at the Google Glass stuff now and how it provides information to you predictively, that is where the effort is going to be. We need to stop having reactive questionings as the core of libraries, because the value of libraries is in improving the quality of questions. We need to improve the quality of the questions they don't know they are asking yet, and do it in a predictive way that says this is where you should be looking, and it's 2 weeks out.
Absolutely. Okay, that's a really good insight. But so taking that and twisting it to what you're already seeing, are there libraries or other related institutions that have a good outlook on how these changes are going to impact the information experience and our opportunities?
Yeah, the good part, I like the question, but the good part of that question is other related institutions. If you had to pick a profession that was number one on the navel gazing list, it's libraries. And the groupthink is a couple of leading libraries do something and everyone copies it and maybe increments it a bit, or tries to take just a piece of it because they want a toe in the water. The real thing is to look at related institutions and what they're doing. So one of the library schools I'm on the board of also offers a museum studies program. Well, museum people are much better at curation than us. They've been doing it for years. We've taken that word, and a lot of libraries say, well, I'm just going to call it curation, and they're showing me a stupid LibGuide or a bibliography instead of curating an opinion. And museum curation is about taking a point of view and curating information and objects to actually bring a new insight to people. And so we seem to shy away from the insight opinion stuff. If we want to be a real strong profession, we're going to have to start having the confidence of our expertise. So I see that expertise, models for that expertise in other professions like doctors and lawyers, where they're paid for their opinion. And we shy away from our opinion or taking a point of view on stuff, even so far as to not say this article is higher quality than this article. We train people sort of, okay, this kind of publisher is a better publisher than a newspaper, and a newspaper is better than a blog posting, which may or may not be true. And so I think there's like an opportunity in this space to look at other institutions and saying, what are these models? So in public libraries, looking at retailers and seeing how they do stuff, and not to take it holus bolus or to take a commercial model. I think there's a business-like model for social institutions where the profit is measured in the quality of your students, the impact they have on society, or the community engagement and social glue and the happiness factor in your localities and neighborhoods. And so that's a profit. And so if we look at ourselves and say, how do we do things that's going to change this? So I'm having dinner tonight with some of the folks from Chattanooga Public Library who were taking a hidebound traditional library and having a material impact on the economic, social, and indeed political success of that town. And it's a lovely town with great technology, but they're looking at who isn't benefiting from all these new things in our town. We're getting new businesses, we can get great internet access, and some people are being left behind. The library's doing things around training, around the fourth floor hacker space, around the second floor teen and children's space, that are fundamentally changing the economic prospects of each citizen, one person at a time.
And how do we get to new models where we're providing resources and impact with new metrics? Are there any tips or approaches that we should be thinking about as we co-lead towards the future of our libraries?
I think getting a better language around what you call new metrics, but analytics, and taking our addiction to statistics and over-under numbers and simple arithmetic, and moving it into analytics that show impact, progress, movement forward. And those analytics aren't enough either. So there's two strategies within analytics. So our ILS companies, our online services, our little gate count turnstiles and I think give us tons of numbers. But we need to sit there and say, well, what does it mean? What's the impact? And then if we want to communicate impact, we can't just show them a measurement. We have to turn it into a story. And
the new
ideally, the new narrative, the longitudinal narrative. One story is not enough. It's a longitudinal narrative over many years that builds people's understanding and commitment and loyalty.
Absolutely.
And then we make it adaptable for the majority of people who are not numbers people. Like, accountants and their great strength in numbers, they show you spreadsheets and all sorts of stuff. but it's a swimming sea of useless numbers to the average person. So infographics, charts, visualizations really excite me. And you know, I see someone showing a chart, and they did good stuff. They took their chart and said, we've doubled the number of children using the library, children and teens using the library, and they showed a bar chart. And I said, well, you know, that could be improved one way. Instead of using bars, use little pictures of teens and children and make them cute and make them multi-ethnic, because that's the impact you have. You're attracting more people. And as those children grow across that chart, as you see someone you care about and you recognize those are cute kids, those are people I care about, I want them to grow up to be great, you put a story into it that changes the dynamics of communicating those numbers while still showing growth.
All right, that makes sense. So taking the idea of story and pivoting this a little bit, what do you think about smart buildings? Do you think that the interconnected libraries as smart buildings and smart places is more than just a gimmick to twist new metrics? Do you think that there's a lot of value in location-specific online discovery, etc.?
I love the location-specific stuff because I think context is everything. So if I'm on a university campus, I can buy the SEO geotags for Google and change the search engine results on a university campus. Anybody can, because they know advertising, the population that stands on a university campus is different, educationally, demographically, smart, everything. So location is important. I don't like starting with smart buildings in a vacuum. I think the building needs to be part of a bigger smart city or smart institution strategy, so that everything, so your 6 cylinders that you're trying to all have stroke effectively are, if I've got a smart building, what aspects of that smart building could be everywhere? So when you look at Foursquare, and I like Foursquare, I don't know if it has a library application that much, like you can do fun games with it and stuff, but I play with it to learn what location is. So when I open up it in San Antonio this week, I got a coupon for a store that was near my hotel, and I might have gone to that store for that coupon. So there's a little bit, but when I opened up my Foursquare in the Toronto subway, it instantly advertised to me that the Toronto subway now has Wi-Fi in the station I was in. So I go into the Wi-Fi of most libraries, which is an environment. It makes the building smarter. It's the infrastructure that you use for smartness in a building, and I don't see the university slaving my homepage to advertise the library or the university or recruiting or whatever message they need to send that week. And so the building needs to be smart, but it needs to be smart for a purpose. Smart boards are a technology looking for a place to happen. Video monitors are technologies looking for a place to happen. They need to have a strategy that actually changes the dynamics of the user interaction in a positive way that matches the institutional goals around learning or community or economics or social happiness.
Point. Okay, so now to wrap up, is there something that you think librarians should be thinking about or worried about, and in the context of where we should be putting our energy towards the future?
The biggest thing we need to worry about is that our influencing skills are very weak as a profession. There are a number of us who have been investing time in influencing. I built a 10-part course for all Ontario's public librarians to learn influence. I've been involved in the Advocacy Librarians Unshushed MOOC that was one of the most successful MOOCs that edX had ever seen in terms of user-learner engagement. Because I truly believe that until we find our voice and learn out loud, speak out loud, advocate out loud, and then influence the right people, like we'll be good at talking to each other, but getting us into the politicians, the policymakers, the opinion leaders in our community, whether from business or from certain targeted ethnic groups who are part of our future in whatever town we're in, the different demographics, getting teens on side, getting better at men and boys. Libraries, if they're being honest with themselves, need to acknowledge that they're better at serving girls than boys and understanding their needs broadly. Like obviously there's some libraries that do it better, but if we want to influence, we have to pick who we want to influence. We need to target them, pick those niche audiences, understand them, and then develop the right kind of listening behaviors that allow us to reflect back at them and influence them in a positive way, to be great contributors to society, to have a great life. Libraries change lives, but only if we have the confidence to actually say, we're there and we're changing you.
Absolutely.
And you're going to learn from us, and not in an arrogant, stupid kind of way, but in caring and sharing, Care Bear kind of way.
Sure. Confidence is really important. Well, I look forward to those strong futures as we have new conversations with new partners. Stephen Abram, thank you for this conversation. Check him out at stevenslighthouse.com, is that correct? And
Yeah.
on Twitter at @sabram. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joe.